Morning musings from my tiny little studio on this tiny little Greek island. As you can see, there's lots going on in the studio today as I'm working on my next YouTube video on how to refurbish old failed attempts and to bring them back to a place where you can paint over them. So that's going to be the topic of the video. But first, I really wanted to come and first say Happy International Women's Day. Yeah! For all of you feminine energies out there. And hopefully the masculine energies as well will be celebrating the feminine side today. And I kind of have some thoughts about that today because, do I really actually celebrate International Women's Day? Yes and no. I acknowledge it and really, really, really do support it. There's a lot of positives. And however, I'm bringing that to a place of celebration every single day. That's expanding from the March 8th to every single day. It's every single day we need to celebrate who we are as we are in all of our beauties and our faults and everything about us as we are. And if we can get to a place of celebration on a daily basis, like every time you pass a mirror, you're like, hey, I think the world would be a better place. However, the important things, the positive sides, of course, this is an essential holiday. Hello, my dear. Hello, Corby. It is an essential holiday and one that took a long time to become a global accepted holiday. Can you believe that? But the first International Women's Day was in 1911. I didn't know these things. I went and looked it up. So Austria, Denmark, Switzerland, and Germany were the countries that first celebrated an International Women's Day back in 1911. So I think it was in 1977 when it became a global holiday. Don't quote me on that. I quite possibly wrong, but it took a long time. So International Women's Day creates and opens the door to greater awareness of the political, social elements and personal, I believe as well, elements of the feminine and the strength of the feminine in the world, in our society, in our personal lives. You know, that is a seriously high, important, positive opening. Just as all change takes time to become a reality. This is one of them, along with all the others. There is the awareness, the global awareness, and it's an element of radical change. Okay, like it was a new idea that came in, and let's do this, and let's have this space and this day where we can open up and make more people, because men and women and all the different genders, right, aware of the feminine. And I just love it for that. And I especially love it today because you know how I like to bring everything into the studio right? So the question of the day then is about radical change, right? Can we, for one, every time you look in the mirror, make the radical change of choosing to feel joy at the face looking back at you, at that being looking back at you? Can we remove the negative chatter that may be going on in our minds and just fall in love with that face looking back at you in the mirror? That, to me, is a radical change. And a lot of us aren't even aware of the negative self-talk, and it may not even be noticed or heard. And I'm not talking about going all the way to the ego side and that narcissistic kind of element. That's not what, it's just a way of opening up your own awareness to the magical, beautiful person that you are and begin to bring it down, just like, these women did back in 1911, bringing the awareness into our society and opening it up, making it, it's going through the same creative process. Do you see where I'm going here? You have to become aware of it. You have to then visualize it and get your inspirations of how can we actually make this a global sensation, right? How can we actually find a way on a global level to bring awareness and radical change to everyone? And then you begin to communicate it out, and it's a great idea. So yeah, I've got my willpower in here. Let's create it. Let's do what we can. And people get out and do the work. They do the work. They are acting on the awareness and the inspiration and putting it out into the world. And that's what these women did back in 1911. And then it took a while, right? Because things like that just take way too long. So what if we did that kind of thing in the studio, in your tiny studio, whether it's your tiny studio or this more important studio, your inner self, your inner channel, who you are? What do you say to yourself when you pass by a mirror and look, or some kind of reflection in the store window or something? What are you really saying to yourself? Are you like in that phase of checking to see if everything's okay so that you look okay enough to be walking down the street? Are you looking in the mirror and not really noticing what your self-talk is? What's going on? Are you bashing yourself and saying, oh God, look at these wrinkles? When did this happen? What are you saying? And with that, my question for the day is, what is the one radical change that you can do in your studio today? If your studio is the mirror and your reflection, what is the one radical change that you can make with that? My idea is every time you look in the mirror, even if you cringe at the idea and you just say, hey, how you doing? How you doing, beautiful? Right? Even if it makes you kind of like, you will, in fact, if you keep doing it over and over and over, every single time you look in the mirror, very quickly you'll actually begin to be happy when you look at yourself in the mirror, because we get to work and create the neural pathways, the ones that we want, We get to choose that. So why not choose that kind of radical change? And in your studio space, right? What's the radical change that you can do to make your studio experience, your painting experience, even better? That's what I'm going to be chewing on today, thinking about it, working with it, and, do I come into my studio and just say, man, I love this space? Every time I come in, just send out this positive energy. What might happen? Especially if I'm in a creative block and I come in here and it's like, oh my goodness. And you have that energy, why not just try and flip it and say, okay, yeah, I'm in a creative block, but boy, do I love this space. Even if you don't believe it while you're saying it, right? Because in a couple of days, you will believe it because you are working the new neural pathway in your brain and creating a positive space. So, hey, you guys, if we can create our own positive space, that's a pretty darn great radical tool that we can use for so many different areas of our lives. So with that, I'm over my 10 minutes. Be inspired, be creative, be you. Have a beautiful day, everyone.